High above a sleeping world, the luxury aircraft Starlight Satu sliced through the moonlit sky like a silver arrow. On board, among the elite passengers, sat President Rafael Duran of Arenova, a man whose reputation for calm, respected leadership and unshakable integrity preceded him wherever he went. The flight was intended to be a peaceful, routine journey, a brief moment of quiet solitude above the clouds. But peace is a fragile thing, and hidden among the travelers was a shadow, an unexpected and unwelcome presence. That shadow was Nova Blade, not just a thief, but a legend, a master of the impossible, a ghost who walked through walls and bypassed the most sophisticated security systems ever devised. His name was whispered in hushed tones by law enforcement and the underworld figures alike. He had stolen priceless artifacts, legendary jewels, and state secrets, always leaving behind nothing but a mystery and a single, taunting clue. And tonight, his gaze was fixed on a prize far more valuable than gold, a treasure beyond monetary worth. Suddenly, without warning, the cabin lights of Starlight Satu began to flicker violently. One by one, they died, plunging the entire aircraft into absolute darkness. An audible gasp rippled through the passengers, a collective intake of breath in the sudden, unnerving silence. For a few long, 10 seconds, the only sound was the distant hum of the engines, the plane a metal shell swallowed by the night. Then, just as abruptly as they had vanished, the emergency lights flickered on, casting long, eerie shadows down the aisles. A wave of shock, more palpable than the earlier darkness, swept through the cabin. President Duran, checking his hand by reflex, felt a cold emptiness where there had once been warmth and weight. The crystal sigil, his nation's most precious symbol and his personal ring, was gone. Panic began to bubble to the surface. The crew, trained for emergencies, immediately sprang into action, their faces tight with concern. They moved to secure the cabin, their professional calm a thin veneer over the chaos brewing underneath. The captain's voice, strained but firm, crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats. We have reason to believe there is a thief on board. The exits are secured." The announcement sent a fresh jolt of fear through the passengers. A thief? Here, at 30,000 feet? It seemed impossible, but Nova Blade reveled in the impossible. While others were frozen in fear, he was already in motion, melting into the shadows he commanded, moving like smoke through the crowded aisles, unseen and unheard. His work was done, the prize was his. But instead of the expected panic from the victim, President Duran remained a picture of stoic calm. He rose from his seat, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the cabin. He didn't shout or demand action. He calmly took the microphone from a stunned flight attendant, his gaze sweeping across the anxious faces before him. The plane fell silent, every eye drawn to the leader who had just been robbed. "Nova Blade," he said, his voice firm, echoing with an authority that shook through the tension. It wasn't an accusation, but a direct address. "I know you are here. And I know you took the ring." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "But what you've taken is not just a piece of jewelry. It's not a merry trinket for a rich man's collection." He continued, his voice resonating with a deep, earnest gravity. "The crystal sigil contains my nation's master security codes, the keys to our defense systems, our power grids, our financial networks. If those codes fall into the wrong hands, or are even misused for a moment, millions of innocent people could suffer. I know your reputation. You are a thief, a master of your craft, but you are not a killer." A profound silence descended upon the cabin. The hum of the engine seemed to fade into the background. Every passenger, every crew member, held their breath, caught in the invisible standoff between a president and a ghost. Then, from a darkened corner near the bow of the plane, a figure slowly emerged from the shadows. He wasn't large or imposing, but his presence was magnetic. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and he held a lifetime of secrets. As he stepped into the dim light, his expression was a battlefield of conflict. It was Nova Blade. "Still the impossible," he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper, yet it carried to every corner of the silent cabin. But he never harmed the innocent. His code was his identity, the one line he had never crossed. President Duran took a step toward him, unafraid. There was no more security detail rushing forward, no more threat in his posture. He met the thief's gaze with one of understanding, not condemnation. Then do the impossible one more time tonight, the president sighed gently, his tone a plea, not a command. Give but what you took. Prove that your legend is more than just about taking. Nova Blade stood frozen for a moment, the world watching him through the eyes of the people on that plane. The weight of his decision was immense. His entire life was built on the thrill of the take, the victory of acquiring what others could only dream of. But the president's words had struck a chord deep within him, a place he kept guarded even from himself. He hesitated, his internal struggle visible on his face. Then, with a quiet, almost imperceptible sigh, he unclenched his hand. Sir, in the center of his palm, the crystal sigil sparkled, catching the emergency lights in scattering them like a thousand tiny stars. The beauty of the ring was mesmerizing, but its potential for destruction was even greater. With a surprising gesture of respect, he stepped forward and returned the ring to President Doran. Their hands met for a brief, historic moment. The president of a nation and the world's greatest thief, bound by a shared, unspoken principle. Maybe, Nova whispered, his voice so low only the president could hear. Some treasures aren't meant to be taken. Before the guards, finally snapping out of their trance, could converge on his position, Nova Blade moved. It wasn't a run, but a fluid, effortless retreat. He stepped back into the shadows, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. He vanished as he had appeared, silent, swift, and utterly untraceable. He had simply ceased to be Sir. Later, as Starlight Satu began its descent, the pilots discovered something in the cockpit, placed obsequiously on the console. It was a single, elegantly folded piece of paper. The captain unfolded it to find a line of perfect, handwritten script. It read, "The hardest thing to steal is one's own conscience." The legend of Nova Blade grew that night, not for what he took, but for what he returned. He had attempted to steal a nation's security, but in the end, he had saved his own soul, proving that even in the heart of a thief, there can be a conscience worth more than any jewel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another adventure. Let me know in the comments what you think. Can a person truly be defined by a single choice? Until next time, stay curious.